We're going to go to Chris Stock at Inside the U. Chris, if you had a question for Coach Diaz.
Yeah, Coach, just kind of curious about Avante Williams. Has he been out there? And then also, is it still at safety, assuming that he's been out there, or a little bit at corner? And then how's he been looking?
Yeah, so actually we're announced today during Avante's preseason exam, he presented some, we say, chronic and lingering medical issues that our medical staff feels that we need to let heal, let him strengthen this fall, and we will reevaluate him come January in the springtime. So Avante will not compete for us this fall.
Just to follow,
Yep, go ahead, Chris.
Disappointed, Manny, just that's the situation with him.
Say the beginning part again.
Just, are you disappointed? You know, that's obviously, you know, he's a highly rated guy. Disappointed that that's the situation. Your reaction?
My disappointment's for Avante because he loves football. He's been an amazing football player since the first time he ever, you know, put on a helmet, and it's just difficult for him to have, you know, the season taken away from him. But I mean, he would do anything to be out there with his guys. So, I'm, you know, we all feel for him, but we know, you know, that we'll do everything we can to help him, you know, get into the semester, get him with Coach Feely, and you know, and do everything we can to get him right.
Great. Coach, next up we're going to go to Susan Miller-Degnan at the Miami Herald. Susan, if you had a question for Coach Diaz.
Hi, Coach. About the scrimmage, was anybody else, you know, not able to participate? Was anybody injured? And I was specifically wondering about Brevin because I know you've mentioned him in passing, but we didn't see him in the pictures or videos. Just wondering how he did if he played.
Yeah, we had a handful of guys that did not scrimmage on Saturday. We fortunately, more than anything, the best part is we did not, you know, have any injuries during the scrimmage, you know, that you know, or you know, would make a guy miss this next weekend, for example. Brevin did not scrimmage, but Brevin practiced today. He had a minor issue that just held him out for Saturday. I would say that the position that was probably the most affected, we had some depth issues on our defensive front. Just a couple of guys that were held out, including Roche, Silvera just took a few snaps, Ford, Holly, just with all different bumps, you know, training camp bumps and bruise type deals. So, you know, we expect them all to be back this week and when we scrimmage again on Saturday.
Thank you.
Coach, we're going to go to David Ferones at the Sun Sentinel. David, if you had a question for Coach Diaz.
Hey, Coach. I was wondering if the scrimmage served in any way to determine a starting group up front with the offensive line that you like. You know, I know Corey Gaynor at center, probably DJ Scaife at right guard, but, you know, Jared Williams at right tackle maybe, and also the left side of the line?
Yeah, I just don't think from where we are, you know, this week was supposed to not – we were supposed to still be in camp this week and not have school, you know, and everybody moved school up a week. So, you know, we still want our guys in compete mode and not with the idea that any starting jobs are wrapped up. You know, certainly, you know, I would say Williams and Campbell, you know, had good days at tackle. But we're still not ready to say these are the five and there's no more, you know, entry to the starting lineup for any position, really. Most positions.
Coach, we're going to go to Manny Navarro at The Athletic. Manny.
Hey, Coach, wanted to ask you about the secondary. We didn't hear much, you know, I guess you weren't asked yesterday on QAM about it. Just wondering how those guys did, if there were anybody who had standouts. I know you had a couple of interceptions, right?
Marcus Clark had interception. I think that was it for the interceptions. I thought Blades and Ivy played very well. You know, I thought we were really good on all the outside lanes, deep throws, which, again, offensively, we'd like to hit some more of those outside lanes. Deep throws. Gervin Hall might have had his best scrimmage as a Miami Hurricane. He was everywhere. Really impressive to see. And I thought Bubba Bolden, who, again, has just benefited from having, you know, just a true camp, you know, which he really didn't get a year ago. I thought Bubba played very well. So I thought those four guys played well. Same thing. Amari missed the scrimmage. You know, we hope to have him back when we scrimmage on Saturday. He should be good to go. But I was pleased with our one secondary. And then beyond that, there's different guys, you know, beyond that are doing good things. We're obviously very young at safety behind those first three. And, you know, and I think Corey Couch has had a good camp so far. Christian Williams keeps showing some good things. So it's just, you know, those guys are trying to reach the consistency level of those of the first four.
Thank you.
Coach, we're going to go to Matt Shodell at Kane Sport. Matt, if you had a question for Coach Diaz.
Hey, Coach. Wanted to switch gears a little bit. Obviously, students are back on campus. There have been some reports of parties in dorm rooms, stuff like that. And I know you always emphasize that your guys each have their own personal bubble. Have you given any advice to them about, not knowing other students' personal bubbles, staying away from the general student bodies, or anything along those lines? That you've sort of offered them advice on?
Yeah, I mean, well, again, we preach what it means to have a personal bubble. I think we all have to understand it's going to be easy to find a story that everyone can assume is going on everywhere. And the truth may be somewhere in the middle. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, we've preached to our guys as much as possible. But I'm gonna keep saying this again, is that we live in Miami, right? And there are more students here now than there were before, but our guys have had options to do some things, since June 15th. So that doesn't mean that the threat's not more real. And again, we may not go, 105 out of 105 every time, but our guys understand what the standard is and how much their teammates are depending on them. And then we're trying to be the leaders of wearing masks on campus. I have my guys take pictures of people that don't wear masks and send it to us. We want to be the ones that show. Our guys just went and practiced, and it had to be over 100-degree heat index out there. This was our first morning practice because of school, and it is blazing out there. If they can run around with a helmet and shoulder pads, I promise you, pretty much anybody can walk around wearing a mask. That's the easiest thing we can do.
Coach, we've got a few more. We're going to go to David Lake at InsideTheU. David, if you had a question.
Yeah, Coach, wanted to ask you, I guess, big picture wise, you've been around Miami now, dating back to your defensive coordinator days for a while. The offensive performance in this scrimmage, was it the best that you can remember from a first scrimmage of fall camp since you've been here? And if so, what does that mean? Just when you understand the context of, the offense didn't get a full off season, it's a new system, a new quarterback, et cetera.
Well, it is, without, really analyzing it, I would say just off the top of my head is probably the best first scrimmage from an offense since 2016 that I can speak of. And not just in terms of the performance and number of touchdowns and yards and those type of things, but again, just even watching the film, I know I mentioned it afterwards on Sunday night, the amount of mental errors, so low. I mean, the amount of, we did not call a timeout. We didn't have procedural penalties and delay games until maybe the last drive when we were really, just playing some of the just getting everybody in type deal. So the first unit, and I thought just how they operated, I thought was very important, which will be a big deal this year without your normal non-conference sort of run up to the conference season. I mean, we got to get going with with a team that's been either division champions or division runners up the last 3 years, won 28 games in 3 years. So we don't have a lot of time to put our toes in the pool. Now, what it means and what we told the team today, what it means is we had a good first scrimmage, and I didn't notice a parade being scheduled for downtown because we had a good first scrimmage. I mean, that's all it means, and so we have to, we have to build on that. Look, we've had, and we keep putting in our team's face all the time, we've had good days before, and we followed up some good days with some real stinkers. So, anybody can be good every now and then. The challenge is really trying to be good consistently, and that's what we got after them with today. Just getting introduced to that heat and making them push through some things that were uncomfortable for them.
Coach, we've got Chris Perkins at Sports Illustrated. Chris, if you had a question for Coach Diaz.
Hey, Manny, we know that these are all difficult circumstances right now. How tough is it for you to balance the reality of those circumstances with not settling? In other words, not letting that, allow you to kind of lower your standards even just a little bit.
In terms of coaching the game itself, perhaps?
Correct. The players on the field, practices, just everything.
Yeah, I mean that's a great point. I mean, but the ball has got to be about the ball, and as you mentioned, the standard has to be the standard. And if defensively, if we're going to run the ball and tackle, we've all been through a lot this year, but we got to run to the ball and tackle. Some things are non-negotiable, and the same thing with the way we want to play on offense and how fast we want to play and physical we want to play. You can't let anything down on that. And what we just talked about to the guys about is what we've always really felt we've tried to do here is we're coaching the film. Right, as coaches, that's all we do. We're trying to correct the film. We love all of our guys personally, and I think this year has really seen that because we've had to be there for them through a myriad of issues. But But what's on film, we have to correct. And if you don't like your film, then you got to listen to the coaching to get it fixed, because, you know, it's just not, it would not be fair to them for us to allow anything other than their best.
Coach, this is the last one. This is Tom D'Angelo from the Palm Beach Post. Tom, if you had a question for Coach Diaz.
Hey, Coach, if I get 2 quick ones in, appreciate it. Number one, Coach, when you've been a defensive coordinator looking at athletic mobile quarterbacks like you have, what has been the biggest challenge? I don't think you faced Lamar Jackson or Johnny Manziel, but those types of guys that you might have faced when you were DC. What's the biggest challenge that week to get ready? How different is it than when you're going to face a traditional quarterback?
Yeah. Well, we went up against Cam Newton and Nick Marshall, and they were at Auburn, and RG3 at Baylor. He was pretty sporty as well. So, you know, we've gone up against some dudes. The issue is, if they're mobile but they're average throwers, then that's one thing. But if they're mobile and then they can throw it, and they've got some guys that can go get it, where you have to match up in a passing game. You know, the idea of what, you know, to use as an example, man or zone. Like, if you have to play man, why would you? Because you have to get so close to the wide receivers to try to deny them the ball, because the quarterback is too accurate to throw it into zones, right? If the quarterback's not very accurate, you can play zone, keep all your eyes on the quarterback, right? So if he takes off running, you've got some people that can respond to him, but he's not good enough to really beat you throwing into the holes that are going to inherently be there in zone. Okay. If you're accurate enough where the guy can pick apart zone, and then you got to go play man, oh boy, then that's really complicated, right? Because it's kind of choose your poison, and that's really how RG3 was, and they had elite receivers at Baylor when he was there, where, you know, you got to cover all those guys, because if not, he'll just throw for 800 yards. But then if you cover all those guys, then you're really putting a lot of stress on your defensive line to contain the best athlete on the field. So a guy that can beat you with his feet and his arm, that's why that's always so amazing. And you don't have, you know, look, even Joe Burrow last year at LSU, it's not necessarily insane, you know, 45-yard touchdown runs, but his ability, you watch, you know, the final few games a year ago, there were a lot of times when the play called broke down, and his ability to extend plays and make things either with his feet or arm, that drives defense coordinators crazy.
And real quick, circling back on what happened at North Carolina yesterday, is that a precautionary tale to you guys? Do you talk about that to your players? And I know it wasn't the football team, but obviously it's a really serious situation when you're going to shut down the school. How much of that can be learning too, part of the whole education of your guys?
I don't know many of the details in which one of theirs. So I feel not quite in terms of, you know, qualified to talk about it. I did see some numbers. I mean, I guess the numbers I saw, they had a positivity rate around 12.9%, something like that, maybe 130 of their students. But remember this again, we've been in Dade County now for the last 3-4 months. Our positive percent was in the 22s, 23 region. We've reduced it. We're kind of high-fiving that we've got it down to the 12s and the 11s and the 10s. So, like, again, I can't speak for anything other than what our guys and what's going on here at our program, but we have been in a place where we've understood, you know, what the numbers have been out there. So I don't know how alarmed we should be in any part of the country if all of a sudden we pop a 12% positive rate. Not that that's good. I mean, nobody's rooting for that, but that is the reality of this virus. So again, we're fighting against that number, you know, as I say, every week.
Thank you.
Manny, thanks for spending a few minutes with us after practice today. I'm sure we'll be talking to you soon.
Okay, y'all. Be good. Okay. Stay safe.